A lot of times we say that in order to prevent churn, we need to ensure that we have very close relationships and thoughtful relationships with our clients, as well as maximize value for these accounts. It's always hard to justify whether or not we provide maximum value, and it's hard to quantify it, but it's just as hard to say, do we have the right relationships? Can we quantify the level of relationship that we have with that account? And when something goes wrong, do we really know who to turn to? Hello, my customer success friends. 𝘦𝘹𝘦𝘦𝘠𝘕 here for CSM Practice, the customer success strategy consulting firm. Today I have with me Ziv Peled, Chief Customer Officer at AppsFlyer, and he joins me all the way from Tel Aviv, Israel. Before we start, I'd like to remind everyone, subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the great videos that we produce on customer success.
Hi, Yuri. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And the reason I have him here is because about 6 months ago, the company has done a tremendous change in Salesforce and converted it into a tool that's much more customer-centric and allows Ziv, who oversees 160 or just about customer success managers, and really assess what is the level of the relationship with each of those accounts, which regions have a better relationship with the accounts, and which regions needs to have some help with it. And when things go wrong, they can really tell quite quickly who has the best relationship with that account and with which contact within that account. And today it's my great pleasure to have you, Ziv, to showcase how you guys do this.
I don't need a CSM to create or build or deepen the relationship with 200 people. In the end, there's 4, 5, 6 in big accounts, maybe a little bit more of the most important, I call it significant relationships. Those are the most important relationships that we need to know that we have a relationship with them, what is the strength of that relationship, how we can deepen it.
So was there something you were trying to solve for, or a goal that you had in mind that maybe you want to put some effort into it and think through what is the framework, how are you going to capture it in Salesforce? I mean, that's a lot of work to just, you change not only how Salesforce is structured and what you track in Salesforce, but kind of what is the focus of the team and processes that they might have used before. So what prompted you to make that change?
There's 2 main things that I looked for. One, I wanted to understand what is the current average number of significant relationships every CSM manages. And from that to understand, and this is something that I didn't achieve fully yet because I'm not managing all the relationship of all tiers yet, but I want to understand what is the optimal number. And the second, which is fully related to that number, is that I wanted to change the notion of looking at the number of accounts or average ARR per CSM, and instead looking at the number of significant relationships per CSM. Average ARR or number of accounts is a great metric, but I think it's not optimal. It's not optimized enough in order to really understand the load of work on the CSM. And significant relationship is much closer because if I'm working with 40 people or with 80 people, it's a big difference in the time I will invest in them.
Very good. I think you can definitely look at it from two sides of the sword. One, if I'm a productive and effective CSM, let's say everybody has 40 accounts. Some of us might have 80 significant relationships, and some of us might have only 20. It really depends on how long have we had this account, how many introductions did we get to this account when we just received it. And so I think it would be really difficult to do account assignments based on relationships because sometimes you don't know how many significant relationships you could actually have with a new account. So what are your thoughts around that?
I think after you start with this framework, there's lots of playbooks that you can do around relationships. So, and we can speak about some of the things that we are doing or thinking about today. I think that, looking at risk, tier 1 account, most important segment, and we were only able to establish 1 relationship. Lots of risk. Another account, we have 5 relationships, and 2 are in a very good strength 5, but we lose one of those person. I think there's so many playbooks that we can do around this, and I think that it's also I'm showing now something we built a custom object, something that any company can take, and this is very generic, and then they can build the playbooks that they need for their solution, and it might not be the same as what we do in apps. Any leader of customer success organization should ask himself or herself if he or she knows how many relationships they manage. It's a basic question that they should ask, because some of organizations they have an executive framework, some doesn't, some needs to develop and then it's a lot of investment that those frameworks, those programs. But still, I think that, the most important thing is to have it from the individual contributor level and up, not necessarily the executive program, which is also important. What we built, by the way, you'll see that the infrastructure that we built is supporting all levels, supports the individual contributors, supports the leadership of CS. If sales will want to use it, sales can use it as well on that level. And then we have the executive level.
Awesome.
I can actually show you a little bit on the demo account. It's actually an account that I created for one of our tools, Troops AI. So what you'll see here is the email of the sales rep. But in the end, when we started to work on the solution, the first thing we wanted to work on was the contact object, and we wanted to make sure that CSMs goes and clean up the contact object. But very, very fast, I understood that the contact object is not an object that anyone wanted to be cleaned ever. It's just, it doesn't work. Maybe for some companies that they have very small number of customers, then maybe it's feasible. For us, when we speak about tier 1 accounts, we will very quickly you can get to 200, 250 contacts. It's just not manageable. If I'm a CSM and I have 25 accounts and I need now to clean 25 times 250. And I'm very glad about that, because when we created the relationship, and here you see, this is the CSM level, and then we have the team leader level, and then we have the executive level, and we even have past relationship. What you see here, this is opt-in. The CSM came and decided to create 2 relationships for this account, one with the CEO, one with the second co-founder. And then we have a few things here that are manual. The relationship strength, which is, again, it's the CSM decides, but we have a criteria that I think it's a very good preliminary criteria for the relationship strength. We say 5 is if I send an email to that person and they will respond to me within the day. That's 5. That's a very strong relationship. If they will respond to me in a day or 2, that's 4. That's a different strength. And almost unresponsive, they will take weeks to answer me, then it will be 1. Mm-hmm. Now, this is why when we go to the executive level, me and Scott, then I have a 4-level relationship with Scott, because probably Scott will answer me by tomorrow. Going to the next thing, so Einat, she's a CSM. On the other side, for the type of relationship, Dan is an executive, and Scott is a decision maker. And then on a personal level, this is something that I left a little bit more open. You decide what level of personal level do you know that person on. Do I know how many kids they have? One of the major questions I ask myself here is that, do you as a person in that relationship with Dan or Scott, do you understand on one side, their personal motivation, and on the other side, their professional motivation? If I understand those 2 things, I'm in a very good place with them. Because, when you are a customer success manager, you must provide value on the product that you sell, that we sell as a company. But we can help in many other things.
Just to recap, the relationship strength is based on the frequency and the engagement level, and then responsiveness, and then the personal level is familiarity with the person motivation.
I'm also marking if that person is a supporter of us. So if this a person that I know that he will be happy to do a referral for us, then they will be a supporter. An advocate is someone that will do a case study, that will do a video testimonial, that will go on a exhibition and will speak about it. So 2 different levels of advocacy.
Anything here is automated?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that we don't see here because it's a demo account, this is we see when was the last time that this person logged into the product.
Cool.
And then we see when was the last time that we sent them an email or scheduled a call with them. So also calendar events. And on the other side, when was the last time they responded to us over email or attended a meeting with us.
Sorry to be too much of a tech geek here, but are you an Exchange, Microsoft Exchange email service or like Gmail? And if you're Gmail, how do you then sync it up with Salesforce? Are you using a specific tool?
We use Serious Insight.
Serious Insight?
And we look into a new tool now.
All right. So you have that for the CSM. And then do your team leaders, executive people, do they add their own contact?
Currently, it's not mandatory. So what I mandated 6 months ago was only for CSMs, only individual contributors to mark their significant relationships for only tier 1 accounts. This is the demo account, so no most strategic accounts, tier 1 accounts. We have 6 tiers, tier 5 and 6 is long tail, tier 4 to 1 is, we don't have mid enterprise. It's the tiers are being set by the revenue that we get, the size of the company, number of employees, funding. Now we look also on revenue range from Crunchbase. We look at many things. Actually, I can show you here on the demo account. It will not show, but this is how we calculate. So we look at when was the company funded, last funded, what is the total funding. So if the company gets now 100 million, and the total funding is 200, so it's a significant funding. So we will upgrade this account from tier, let's say that they were tier 4 before, then they will be tier 2. And this is done daily, automatically. So this is the leader's view. Any leader will see only their portfolio, what's below them. And what I see now is that we have 75% coverage in tier 1 accounts of relationships, 400 accounts, 985 relationships. And just to understand, I cannot show it here, but when I look at these 200 advocates out of those 400 accounts, when I click on that number, I see the 200 advocates of AppsFlyer tier 1 accounts. And what we can see here also is breakdown by region, breakdown by team leader, relationship types by what we saw, most of the types is CSM2 champion. Then I can see also on CSM level and on the tier level. So although I only ask for tier 1 accounts, you'll see that we have 20% tier 2, 14% tier 3, 4. So CSMs they are passionate also about relationships, not only me. By the way, if we go here, you can see the average relationship strength and average personal knowledge per CSM here, and it's varies and very, very interesting.
So I think when you see that the customer success managers actually fill it out for other tiers, that means that the process actually provides value to them.
Absolutely.
Only they did tier 1, but then they go out and on their own accord actually doing it for tier 2, 3, and 4. That means that it's not just helpful for management, it's actually also helping them have everything in one place. And I think it's the fact that you added like, what is their usage? When was their last login? What's the strength of the relationship in terms of the last communication? Everything is automated. It gives them a little bit more value as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll show you a little bit later how easy it is to maintain this. Because I do ask every CSM to 30 days after the last modification of a relationship to look at the relationship again and to decide if they want to modify it. If the strength changed, I'll show you in a second. But this is a view that both I use it, but also the CSM use it. What we see here is that this is all the relationship of one CSM. And when I speak with a CSM, then I open this and immediately I know who are the most important customers they work with, they manage, who are the most important significant relationships they work with, when was the last time they worked with them, what is the strength. Maybe there's a customer that is super important for us and they only have strength 1, or everyone is in strength 1, and maybe I can chip in and we can have a call together and I can help them push it to the next level. And what I'll show you now, this is how easy it is to update here. So what actually happens 30 days after you last modified, in Slack via Troops, the CSM gets a message that says, I think that I don't have the message here, but the message says, this significant relationship from account X was not modified in the last 30 days. When they open the model in Slack, they don't need to go to Salesforce. They can update the relationship strength, the personal level, to add a note, to change the customer contact, which is irrelevant and optional. But they can also change the type of relationship. And then the only thing that they need to do is submit from Slack. This is the strength of Troops. And this, I think, is why customer success managers are doing that so easily. By the way, if you go back to Salesforce and we add a new relationship, you'll see how easy it is. So I cannot add one more with Dan, but this is how easy it is.
Very cool. So I wanted to ask you, do you give your team goals besides the reminder to update once a month? Do you give them goals for, now that you have the benchmark data, how many relationships should they have per a large account, or what should the strength of the relationship be, or what types of relationships they should have with large accounts versus smaller accounts?
This is the mission statement for customer success managers at AppsFlyer. We want to listen, learn, and help customers achieve their desired outcomes while building long-term relationships. The desired outcome, value, that's the only KPI that we have. We focus on at least 4 indications for either upsell for premium features or feature adoption indications for non-premium features a month, at least one of each. So what I'm actually saying to my customer success managers is that revenue is not the focus. The focus is value, and push any value that we have, both premium and non-premium, to customers every month. It pushes them to drive that value. It's also for the entire portfolio. So there's no focus for only customers that can upsell or to drive revenue growth.
If you see an account or multiple accounts that have very little relationships, maybe one, and it's scored low, would that trigger an escalation or a code red process for you?
For tier 1 accounts, if we only have one relationship or less, we will automatically open the red flag. We will not need an input from the CSM, and then they will need to handle that red flag. And one of the solutions will be to build more relationships and define it in Salesforce, and that will enable them to close the red flag.
So I want to thank you for your time. All right, guys, if you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the bell above to get notifications to other awesome YouTube videos with customer success leaders like Ziv Peled.